that. And our first presenter is Graham McBain with Groundskeeper. And Graham actually is an alumni of the 1 Million Cups organizer team. So go ahead, come on up. So you'll have 5 minutes.
Okay.
I think Anna wants you to stand over here, and down advances the slides. And I just need to grab my timer.
I'm going to take this extra minute to let you guys soak in the first slide.
Yes, soak in the first slide.
Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for updating this to the better version. My name is Graham McBain. Nice to meet you all. Been a founder a lot. I can't help myself. It's just something I want to do. After exiting my last company, I've been spending some time as a stay-at-home dad, and that means that I have to do a lot of yard work, and I don't like to do that. And so that, in a conversation with my friend Kevin, led me to start Groundskeeper. So Groundskeeper is bundled home maintenance services. Anybody here a homeowner, live in a single-family home? Kidding, you know what I'm talking about. Home maintenance is a huge pain. If you have to do it yourself, it is a lot of work. You have to learn a lot about systems, about sprinklers, about your pool, about how different plants like to be treated. And for a lot of us who are knowledge workers, that's a huge cognitive load that we don't want to have to deal with. The marketplace for this is extremely fractured. Most of you that have a landscaper probably got them because they were doing your neighbor's yard and walked and knocked on your door and said, you want me to do yours too? It's a really common story that I hear. And the quality of service is really bad. And as individuals, if you don't like your landscaper or your pool service person, then you have to go fire them, which is something that nobody likes to do. And so why would you put all of that? You're effectively the groundskeeper of your own home, even if you don't realize it. So we're trying to give you resort quality living in your own backyard. We're going to wrap all of your services into one bill. You've got a single point of contact if you have any issue with your services or anything that's going on. And we're taking complete ownership of your backyard experience. Right now, your home maintenance person, if you want them to trim a bush, do something, really make sure that your yard looks perfect, you have to instruct them to do that. That's a big problem. You find people that are, well, your mow and blow guy will just kind of come and leave, and unless you specifically instruct them to do something, they won't do it. And that makes you, again, have a huge cognitive load of your own house. So how does it work? Somebody signs up, they take their phone, they go do an assessment of their yard, they take pictures of all the different plants and equipment that they have, they tell us how big their yard is, that sort of thing. We then give them one price, depending on their service level. So if they want pool service included, they want annual decoration, setup and tear down of outdoor furniture in the summer or spring or fall, we take care of all that stuff, and then all you have to do as a homeowner is pay that bill and enjoy your lifestyle every month. How do we make money? Providers take a slightly discounted rate. I've been speaking to a lot of them, and if they don't have to deal with the billing and managing of that on themselves, they're willing to take a little bit of a lower rate. And a lot of these service companies actually have subcontractors, and so they're charging you one price, and they're paying the actual people doing the work a little bit less of a price. So that's already pretty common. Homeowners are going to pay a little bit of a premium over what they're currently paying just because the service level is so much higher, and we're shooting for about a 20% margin. So how do we get big? Best practices. Right now, this is such a fractured industry that it's really hard for local providers to be able to implement best practices at every stage. But as we grow, we're able to take that learning and implement it everywhere. So these types of plants require this type of service. We can do things like install a smart sprinkler head at your house and then manage that remotely on your behalf, which is something that there's not really the incentive for existing companies to take that kind of level of service. Best practices, like I said, and then add-on services. I mentioned the decoration every month. So I've got boxes and boxes of fall and winter and spring decorations, and if you're like me, you probably end up getting them up 2 or 3 days before the actual holiday goes down, and then you take them down a few weeks afterwards. If you could just say, I'd like my decorations taken care of, and then your groundskeeper could do that for you, that's a much better experience. So that's Groundskeeper. I want to keep that short so I can get some good questions from you guys, but we want to deliver a resort quality living experience in your own backyard. Thanks.
Great. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought you spoke mostly of backyards. Is it backyard? Is it front yard?
Full yard maintenance.
Full
Yeah,
yard,
gutter cleaning, anything like that.
Okay.
So any exterior home maintenance service is all wrapped up into the
So decorating the front is possible?
Yeah, oh yeah, decorating the front, that's what I mean by decoration.
Okay, okay. And then how do you control for quality when it's kind of a subcontracting thing?
Right, so right now, how do you control for quality is that if you don't like the service, you have to fire that person and go find someone else. And typically it's such a pain to hire these type of professionals that people just deal with low quality. We pay our pool guy in cash. We have recurring billing from our landscaper, but we have online billing from our landscaper, but it's not recurring. We have to go and automatically pay him every month. So if signing up through Groundskeeper, you'll get a text message of the people that are showing up to do the work that day. And if you don't like the quality of the work, you just rate it and we'll take care of that for you. So we'll replace them and give you a better service. Did we have to do this part?
Yes. So let me ask you the first question.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
How can this community help you?
I'm so glad you asked, Laura. Refer customers, refer service providers, referring angels. So we should be getting insurance done here soon. So we'll be ready to start taking clients. I've actually had people ask service providers. So we've got people in the Carmichael area, but if you've got people in Folsom that you think would want to work with us, we'd love to connect with them. And then angels. So we're applying to a bunch of accelerators right now, but any angels help us get that stuff going a little bit faster. Yes, sir.
Just following on Paul's question, it seems like it'll be a challenge to find service providers and vet them and throughout big metro areas. Is there a plan as far as how you go out and find them and recruit them and get them onboarded?
Yeah, so a lot of the service providers are currently paying things like Angie's List and Thumbtack. So Thumbtack puts all of the cost to get a job on the provider. They have to bid before they even know if they're going to get the job. And a lot of them are still advertising through things like Craigslist. So putting it out there that if you sign up with us, you don't have to pay. We just give you a client and they're your client. I mean, people want the same person over and over again. So we've even tossed around the idea of letting you keep your current provider. I know that's a terrible phrase or a loaded one, but letting you keep some of your current providers and just having the management offloaded to us. Yeah.
Well, is this a tech-enabled play? You talked about the service you're going to provide and how you connect it, but how do you coordinate all that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of best practices around coordinating service techs. And so there's a company called Field Nation that's a generalized service tech management software. And there's the framework for doing that is pretty well established. Yeah. Yes.
Hi, great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you are also going to be working with like large apartment properties or the land management folks that manage the grounds there, in addition to single-family homes.
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, all of the sophistication in this market is in that area. So somebody develops a reputation as being a good single-family home maintenance company, and then they almost always move up market to commercial because those accounts are easier, simpler, faster, that sort of thing. We'll get there, absolutely, but we think tackling the more fractured market is actually a better play for a startup because the efficiencies we'll be able to gain we'll be able to capture a lot of market share, and then going up market to those bigger industries is going to be pretty simple. Pretty simple, terrible thing to say.
All right, I just kind of want to follow up from his question. We do janitorial as well.
Yeah.
And we actually handle a lot of commercial properties, and we constantly get asked, do we know tree trimmers, maintenance, or just general cleanups for the yard work.
Totally.
It's very hard to find people that are qualified to do that.
Yeah.
And by qualified, I mean just, with the right credentials, good insurance, the proper licensing, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I heard you say that you're going to go into the residential market first, but when you transition, how are you going to go ahead and vet those potential vendors to work for you for other commercial properties?
Great question. I haven't thought too much about commercial right now. Typically, the way I think about it is that this model exists right now. A lot of it is one property management company gets hired and then they farm out all of that work. So that's happening today. But if I could provide a better experience to both the end user and the provider, then it makes sense for me to be able to capture more of that market share. And if I'm making it easier and I've got best practices. So the thing about this is when somebody hires an existing landscaper to go out and do work on their behalf, you're Joe's Landscaping, but you're hiring Dave's team to actually go do the work. Dave's team has to go there and figure it out themselves. Right. With Groundskeeper, Dave's team is going to get an app. They're going to get their app interface that shows, here's this property, and here's what you need to know about it, and here's the jobs you need to do today. So we're really breaking down and compartmentalizing the work that needs to get done. And so the cognitive load of even the worker is a lot lower than it is today. So we're making the tasks more bite-sized and easier to accomplish, and that'll make it easier to get lower cost providers and get more people into it.
Okay. Just a friendly tip on that same note too.
Yeah.
Like I said, I deal with a lot of property managers as it is already.
Yeah.
Just one of the things you should watch out for is there's a lot of hiccups when it comes to contract negotiating.
Yeah.
For example, they don't like subcontractors, just property management in general.
Yeah.
For example, our biggest one is JLL, and
Yeah.
they're very, very strict, and they're a big company. They
Yeah.
require a lot of work, but it's very difficult to get them in a contract without having to use subcontractors.
Yeah.
That's just one of the biggest hiccups we have still right now.
Okay, that's great. I mean, that's great to know. And part of why I'm not going into the commercial space yet is because of the complexities of it.
Right.
And it's a really well-established industry and area. And if I did that, I'd effectively be going up against property managers.
Right.
And that's not my business. I want to take the professionalism of property management and bring it down to the individual level.
Jerome's house.
With how you're describing the workload and breaking down the cognitive side
Yeah.
of it, have you considered labor law liability there, especially here in California?
How do you mean?
I assume you'd be 1099 all of these.
At first, it depends on the new laws that just got passed. Are really going to throw a lot of that in.
Yeah.
What the research I've done so far is, if you are truly hiring an established company and not a contractor, that's really where it comes in. So if I can say to Joe's landscaping service, here, take this client, I'm going to give you detailed instructions for when you need to show up, all of that stuff, and I'm just going to pay you as my subcontractor. But absolutely, and I'd like to get to a point where we can vertically integrate and have people on our own team wearing groundskeeper uniforms, that kind of thing. It's just a balance of scale versus quality, and we'll find that.
Yeah, no, it's just a consideration. I know the hair industry got kicked really hard with 1099 laws.
Yeah, for sure. And I've done gig work. I've been in startups for a long time. I frankly believe that the more you can vertically integrate and bring people in-house, the better service you can provide. And if I'm using automation, best practices, and smart technology, it might make more sense for me to start bringing in high-quality people. Because you have, instead of having a mow and blow team that also does bushes, you just have a mow and blow team, and then you have a bush and plant care team, and they're doing really specific work at every single property.
Is this available in Folsom?
I need customers, so sure. Right now,
Is this actually like working business right now, or is it?
Yeah, so we're getting insurance set up this week or next, and so we should be able to start taking customers next week or the week after. So I'd love your number.
So one of the reasons I'm not currently a homeowner is because that was overwhelming
Yes.
to me. Pool guy, mow and blow guy, and housekeeper.
Yes.
So I wondered, right now you don't have housekeeping there, but would you consider stuff like window cleaners, outside window cleaners, or would you even put housekeeping in, or is that just too much more complex?
Eventually. So my thesis is that the interior of your home is the battleground of Amazon and Google right now, and I'd rather not get trampled on. So I'm going to go where they are not.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it makes sense as we grow, or if there's a customer demand, then go for that for sure. I think more people have mow and blow people than have housekeepers. That overlap may be higher than I think, but yeah.
One way that I've heard you talk about this is like a geographically distributed HOA,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is fascinating. And one thing that I see HOAs, part of HOAs is the services, but part of it is also the feel of a neighborhood.
Yes.
You have to have this, there's some rules. It's almost like a branding.
Yes.
This is what we want our neighborhood to feel like. And I can't help but picture different styles that a user could choose. And, and the outside of my house looks like X, and I want you to maintain it like X, and I'm part of this brand of I'm part of Groundskeeper.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe it's one brand that their outside of their home feels and looks like.
Yeah.
That wasn't really a question.
Well,
Exciting. Sorry.
thank you. Yeah, no, that's exactly how I want to think about it. Because right now, you shouldn't have to think about what kind of plants are what and when they do this and when they're, you should just think about how you want your yard to feel, right? Like if you own a home, you buy it and you're like, and when you buy it, they make it perfect. And you're like, this is going to be great. And then 3 weeks later, you've got, diapers in the yard and you're like, what's going on? Oh God. So yeah, I want them to be able to, I want it to be really simple to be able to choose. I want it to look like this, or somebody wants to do gardening, right? Like I built a planter bed in one of my property I owned in Denver. And that was such a magical idea in my mind. And then when I'm shoveling the 3 tons of dirt that were dumped in front of my yard on the street, and had to get all of that done before my neighbors were like, hey, I can't park here because your dirt's here. That's crazy. You should be able to say, I would like a planter bed, and they go, where in your yard? And you can just drop it on the map of your yard, and you can say, I'd like it built and filled with dirt, and I want you to leave the plants on the side. And then I can go out there like I'm Martha Stewart and go, and now we put in the carrot, and not actually have to do any of the work. It's like, yeah.
I always kind of play devil's advocate on the HOA side of things.
Yeah.
I actually hate our HOA.
Yeah, everyone does.
I want very little to do with them.
Yeah.
And just because it seems like a unelected committee that's making decisions, and,
Yeah.
and especially when you do own the property, it's
Yeah.
like we bought this, and it's something that granted, it's another thing. So just something to be wary of, that HOAs can fluctuate either end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
should you choose to go that route, I think it's a great idea to kind of templatize that.
Yeah.
And find, okay, there's definitely like themed communities and styles of living, and I think that'd be a great place to start.
Yeah.
Look at some of the big home developers like Katie Homes or whatever, and see like how are they theming their communities, and see if you have a match for that. And say, hey, everybody who's in this subdivision or in this master plan, whatever, you can approach them. But some people do have some adversity to.
Oh yeah, HOAs are the bane of most. I was a realtor a long time ago, and they're just the worst. And it's like, because then you get like the person that has the least amount of time, or has the most amount of time to be the president.
Yep.
And like I'm helping a friend buy a house right now, and they got an anonymous letter from a neighbor that said, your fence you installed does not go with the character of the neighborhood. There's not even an HOA there. It's just someone who decided to give their opinion. So yeah, we don't want to infer that. I've sort of stepped away from the name HOA because of that inference that goes with it. So it's really, if you live on a big country English estate, you have a full-time groundskeeper, and you just walk around your grounds. And I want everyone to have that feeling.
Who do you anticipate to be your customer persona or personas, and how do you plan on reaching them?
Yeah, so it's going to be people that are twofold. People like me, so first-time homeowners or younger homeowners with kids who don't want to have to deal with all of this stuff and have the means to do so. And then there's going to be the people who are wanting to age in place in their homes, and their children who want to take care of that property but don't want to have to manage a local person. If I can sign up and say I put a groundskeeper at mom's house, that's a big market for us, I think.
What was the reason that you decided to start this in this area? I'm assuming
it's where I live.
Okay.
But the reason I mean, we're Folsom and Roseville are pretty affluent communities, so there's a high number of people that have this service. I live in Carmichael. It's still pretty disparate, but there's a lot of people that use this service. And I just think that you got to start where you are is a good way. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just thinking because I actually moved from Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
And when I lived there and then I lived here, I'm like, all the young the place that has the most young homeowners are out of California.
For sure.
Because California is so expensive. And these are the people that really like technology.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, like if we're looking for a target audience that is young and wants to use something that is an app, so you don't have to call anyone, because I don't like talking with people when I can just press button.
Right.
So, even when I was moving, I was like, okay, I have so many options. Which one should I use? And I remember when I moved from Dallas to here, I checked a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So when someone said, hey, here's the startup website, you just go in, click this, click that, and no one will call you. You won't get quotes. You can just figure out if you want it or not, and it's all done.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, if I can do that, that would be great. but I cannot afford a house here, but I can afford one in Dallas. So
Yeah.
just
No, definitely. I mean, we'll the market of aging in place will be bigger in California, I imagine, than it will be in places like Dallas or Minneapolis or that kind of thing. But everyone I've spoken to my age has said, like, oh, thank God, please give me this because I do not want to talk to people. And I just, because that's great. I'll do all the talking. I'm obviously good at it.
I was going to say with that concept, it's not even, for me, it's not even about not wanting to, but the ease.
Yes.
Right? Like the ease of being able to do this. I have a home, I have a pool guy, I have a lawn care guy, I have a housekeeper, all that stuff. I've always wished there was a better way for all of that to be organized, for me to pay it, for me to request things, for me to do all that kind of stuff. So I love the idea.
Great. Thank you. And the added benefit, I think, for you is that if we install the smart sprinkler systems, all of that, we can start to save you money and energy. A third to a half of a home's energy is through their pool equipment. And if you're not doing that, if you're not managing that to go at off-peak hours, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of value add that we can do on top of just the convenience that'll make it a no-brainer. So my friend has this phrase called hoffing people, hitting them over the head. And so I just want to hit people over the head with the convenience of this. Like, why wouldn't you do this? Yeah.
I love the idea.
Thank
I
you.
think I'm in the industry, like I said, and we have done some residential work as well.
Yeah.
And I love how easy it sounds. And I want to ask, I guess, how far along are you guys in the app stage? Because it sounds like that's going to be the biggest seller is the app, right? The ease of using this. So
Yeah.
how far along are you guys there?
Yeah, so we've got a spec document for the V1 of the customer portal, the provider portal, and the management side of it. And so my co-founder and I are working on that. I've built with no code tools, I've built a sort of intake process. So you give me a little bit of details about your house, we schedule a video call, and you take me on a video tour of your home. And then I use that information to go to my providers manually and say, give me a quote. And then I turn around and give you back that quote. So it's very manual right now. But as I don't want to build too much software before I know if people like it. But yeah, we're getting there. And I've applied to Y Combinator and a bunch of other accelerators. So hopefully we'll get that capital injection soon.
Well, we're out of time.
Okay.
Graham